Well, another E3 has come and gone. And, as always, there were plenty of games announced that got us ridiculously excited. I know I'm not one that usually covers E3 stuff and all that, but I decided I should start doing so. Since the following 10 entries are concerning games we know little about, this is obviously going to be a shorter list. But don't worry, plenty of stuff is on the way. Now, I'm not going to go into depth about my thoughts on E3 2012, but all I can say is that there were a handful of announcements this year that got me really excited, regardless of whether or not it was something new. So, I present to you my top 10 favorite E3 2012 announcements. It doesn't matter when the game was originally announced. As long as it had some kind of announcement at this year's E3, that's all that matters. Let's get going. Scribblenauts Unlimited. Now, I've been interested in the whole Scribblenauts series ever since I got the original installment on the DS. It was fun, immersive, and it showed me that 5th Cell really knows how to make their games well. So, when Unlimited was announced, it certainly spiked my interest. After all, this is the first Scribblenauts game to be on a home console since its debut. While the things we are being promised in Unlimited are somewhat vague, it seems 5th Cell is taking some new steps with this one. From what we can expect, the game will play out in a much bigger, more connected world when compared to the simple levels from before. This game is said to be coming out on both the 3DS and the Wii U. It's said that the Wii U version of the game can store more than 900 custom objects. We're also hearing things about an adjective keyboard, which basically means that you apply adjectives to actual objects within the game. We're also being promised an all-new multiplayer mode, but they barely explain any details. But the most interesting thing I noticed is that we are finally going to find out about Maxwell's story. Before this, Maxwell has been this mysterious figure that nobody really knew about. We didn't know exactly why he needed the star rights. If not for the promise of the expanded story, it will definitely be for the experience of this series on a home console. Hopefully 5th Cell won't disappoint us. Now, I'm sure most of you would think that I hate Dead Space. Let me just go on record by saying that you would be incorrect. I'm actually rather fond of the Dead Space series. The series is like a mix of Metroid, Resident Evil, and Dead Rising, meaning there are plenty of moments that will leave you blubbering with fear. So, when Dead Space 3 was announced this year, my interest was definitely given a signal. It's at this point where Dead Space is finally becoming a trilogy, and by the levels of quality the third installment of a series is supposed to have, Dead Space 3 has a lot to live up to. I myself am confident that EA will deliver something spectacular. As one would expect, both Isaac and Ellie return, as well as a new character known as John Carver. From what we know, most of the game will take place on a desolate frozen planet known as Tal Voltanis. I am particularly intrigued by this. A frozen setting gives the necromorphs a lot of new potential to scare the shit out of the player in many different ways. Also, I have the feeling that EA is wanting this to be the end of the story, as there have been rumors that the setting of this installment will be the key to ending the necromorph infestation. A promising feature that Dead Space 3 will present is the addition of drop-in, drop-out co-op, which will unlock additional story details and gameplay mechanics. That's about as much detail as I'm going into. All I have left to say is, I'm ready to get freaked out all over again. I'm buckled down and ready. Do your worst, EA. Now, try not to freak out when you hear this. I actually am a fan of the Halo series. Gasp! Yeah, I too got sucked into the series. Though the first-person shooter genre is typically my least favorite, I just can't help but love Halo. Which brings us to number 8, Halo 4. Okay, I think we all can agree that Microsoft was pretty bad this year. The only interesting thing that they showed us was Halo 4. Yeah, the whole "we finished the fight" may be ignored by the developers, but this really does look promising. Normally I would be against the supposed cash-in like this, but somehow Microsoft managed to catch my interest. As of what we currently know, Halo 4 is intended to be the first of a new trilogy of games. naming itself as the Reclaimer Trilogy. Looks like Microsoft is wanting even more money. What a surprise. Similar to the other Halo games, it doesn't look like Halo 4 is going to make a huge leap in the gameplay department. Aside from the polished look of Master Chief's arms, there doesn't appear to be any change. Then again, this is merely speculation. As for the story, there have been bits and pieces of what Halo 4's story will be, but from the looks of it, it appears to be pretty much the same idea, just more hostile activity from the Covenant. But from the looks of it, the Forerunners appear to be enemies as well. Overall, Halo 4 doesn't seem to showcase much of any changes, but I'll just be happy with blasting the fuck out of my enemies with the Petty Officer once again. Maybe Halo 4 will present something awesome with its storyline, and maybe it won't. You've already grasped my attention with this one, Microsoft. Don't disappoint me again. Now, we should all be honest with ourselves. We all love some 2D Mario goodness. So much so that we make it the best-selling series of platformers ever. Now, unlike the general majority of us, I actually am really excited for this one. New Super Mario Bros. U piques my interest simply because 2D Mario games almost always give me thrills that some games can't replicate. While a lot of people believe Nintendo is simply milking Mario for money, I tend to think positively. Okay, yeah, having 2 new Super Mario Bros. Games in the same year is a tad overkill, but you know they'll be good no matter what. From the trailer, we see that they are bringing back even more elements from Super Mario World into this generation. The most notable addition appears to be the inclusion of the Baby Yoshis. From the looks of it, the Baby Yoshis in this game will have new uses like floating and blowing bubbles. The best part? Oh, they're so cute! As for power-ups, it looks like the only thing new is the Acorn Mushroom, which turns the player into a flying squirrel. It looks like the only function it has is to let you glide at a slow descent speed. But, who knows, it might have more functions. Although I must say, I'm loving those poofy overalls. I need to get me some of those. Another thing we know is that the 4-player co-op is back, which doesn't seem to be altered in any way other than the fact that player 1 can now choose whatever character he or she wants to play as, rather than Mario being the default. All I have left to say is that I'm excited for some 2D Mario action. Lay it on us, Nintendo. I think that everyone can agree with me when I say that Ubisoft kicked some major ass this year, showing off a bunch of quality games this year. The first one on this list is Assassin's Creed 3. Now, whoa. You might be thinking, hey, well, Mr. Minion, you like Assassin's Creed? Psh, nah. I'm not too big a fan of the series at the moment, but I have played the first one, and while it's an above decent game, I wouldn't exactly call it a masterpiece. However, the third installment of this series really piques my interest. Hell, the trailer alone caught my attention. Also, am I the only one that mistook the characters in the trailer for real actors? Seriously, that is some damn good CG. But what really makes me excited for this one is the game's setting. This game is said to take place during the American Revolutionary War, between 1753 and 1783. Before this, we played as assassins like Ezio and Altair, whatever his name is. This time, the main focus of the game revolves around Connor Kenway, a Native American assassin and an ancestor of Desmond. Not that I need to go into much detail with this guy, but just look. Holy shit. Whoa! Altair would be fucking proud. As for the gameplay, it looks pretty basic. You got the free running, the combat, normal stuff, just the kind of thing you would expect to be there. Although I wouldn't mind some new gameplay mechanics, I'll just be happy with tomahawking my enemies to death. While I'm not exactly a fan of this series yet, I have a good feeling that this installment will cement me as such. Some say that this was Ubisoft's greatest announcement this year. I myself think there was one better than this.